Dan Campbell going for it on fourth down. Let's hear Joe Mazzulla and Sean Grandy on Dan Campbell.
There was the concept that struck me was people wanted him to abandon what he had done all year long to get to that spot in a critical moment, which obviously what we're talking about here is going forward on 4th and 2 or 4th and 3. And it seemed to me that just strikes me, you talk about principles all the time and things like that, sticking to them with your group seems really critically important when the weather gets turbulent outside.
Well, I think that's how you build trust and you build buy-in. So at the end of the day, any coach is going to make a decision based on the conversations that they have with their team, their staff, their trust and buy-in, you know? And so, like, a decision is never made off the fly of your pants. It's always, there's a ton of thought that goes into it. So, I think in that situation, you have the full trust of your buy-in. And to me, it shows ownership and empowerment to your team, the ability that you trust them. And this is what got us here. And so I got a lot of respect for that. Anytime you see a coach, especially with the criticism and the way things can go, shoulda, woulda, coulda, for a guy to stand up for what he believes in and do it, that's that's a good example for coaches.
Maybe the Lions should have taken some more threes.
Oh!
Zing.
Zinger. That's where I'm going with it. I love that Grandy asked that question. I caught it. I actually was workshopping a take. I was workshopping a take with Skaz. And he goes, well, Joe, Grandy asked him that last night. And here we are now. Joe Mazzulla talked about Dan Campbell saying he loves that guy right off the bat and mentioned the trust and the buy-in by the players when it comes down to those decisions. As you just heard there, he commended Campbell for sticking by what has worked all season. But this is where the Celtics come into the conversation. The philosophy has been to shoot more three-pointers. It's the reason why they have the best record in the league. It's the reason why they're the favorites to win the championship. But there have been games where the shots from beyond the arc have struggled. The most recent example came at home against the Clippers the other night. They no-showed. They were so cold. They got blown out. How about last night versus the Pelicans? Bad first half. They trailed by as many as 17 points. They went on to win 118 to 112. They got hot late. Derek White was awesome yesterday. He was awesome. But the fact that Mazzulla was just like, yeah, love it. I respect it. I respect that. Well, I don't know. I want a coach that can make game adjustments. When you are cold from three, you look inside, you pick and roll. There's all sorts of different things you can do. Not the Celtics, though. Yeah, sometimes when they pass the ball well, they find the open guy. Generally, an open shot goes down. There are nights it doesn't. So to Mazzulla's point about, him being upset about any type of, when it comes to talking about the Celtics and the entitlement there are some things to it. Like they're not going to be great every half or every quarter. It happens. Late in games, though, that seems to be where they have their issues. But Mazzulla doesn't adjust his game. They still shoot the threes. It's still the look they go for. And I think that's the problem, and something that he can learn from is that you can play with that mentality and that philosophy. I think it can only get you as far as you went last year, just as far as the Lions went this year in football. When these games get tight, there needs to be another way to win, and this team's built to do that. You can look inside to Porzingis or Horford. Will they do that? It's something we've yet to see from the Celtics and Joe Mazzulla are those adjustments. And the fact that he loves what Dan Campbell did and loves the philosophy and that it's a buy-in, it means that he likes to be stubborn too. He likes the Campbell way. Here's another thing. I mentioned the Mazzulla ball philosophy. It stood out in some losses this year. Pacers, Warriors, Denver. Those are the three ones I'll always go back to. And too many three-pointers have hurt the team instead of going to the basket. But the Celtics have gone to consecutive Eastern Conference Finals. And they've only made it to the NBA Finals once. It's hard to get back there. And this was something that Dan Campbell stressed to his players after the loss. getting back there, winning the championship would validate Joe Mazzulla. But one thing that Dan Campbell said to his team, I told the guys, this may have been our only shot. It's going to be twice as hard to get back to this point next year. And that's another thing I hope Mazzulla can learn from Campbell. They already went there with Udoka. They knew what they had to do. The philosophy was to play good defense and score. Now the philosophy is to shoot more threes. And I just hope when games get tight and when they really matter, Mazzulla doesn't stay with his philosophy and can change it up like some other coaches we've seen. Your thoughts at 617-779-0985. I do want to get into some Patriot stuff coming up in a little bit, but let's talk to Chris. He's in the car. What's going on, Chris? You're on the Sports Hub.
How we doing?
Good, man.
So listen, I actually wanted to cross sports a little bit even more, and I think that everybody should have taken a page out of Kevin Cash in the 2020 World Series, where he was stubborn and he went off the analytics and he took out Blake Snell when he shouldn't have. And that stubbornness in the analytics is causing these coaches to lose ball games, big ball games, right? The regular season games mean nothing, and then when they get in big ball games, they can't adjust. And they don't have a feel for the game, right? So Dan Campbell didn't have a feel for the game. He stuck with his guns. He was wrong. Joe Mazzulla last year in the Eastern Conference Finals stuck to his guns, and he was wrong. So I think that these coaches need to have a feel, an in-game feel, and if they don't, then they're never going to win the big one. And I feel that, and I fear that for the Celtics.
Hey, Chris, I just want them to say that. Hey, yeah, we stand by our philosophy. We live by it. We've won. We've been successful. But when we will adjust because that's what we're good coaches and we'll adjust. Like, I just wish they'd say that instead of doubling down on Campbell's decision.
Yeah, it's miserable.
All right, man. Appreciate you, bro. Yeah, that Kevin Cash one, that one wasn't good. That one was not good. I believe they took out Snell, and then the rest of the way it was pretty terrible. But that's what the Celtics really, when it comes to them, like, I still wonder if Mazzulla can save the Celtics from themselves. Right? I think Udoka could do that. I think he could. All right, the three's not going down. We're going to look inside. We're going to pass the ball 3 times before we take a shot. Those kind of things. Nope. Mazzulla ball is if you're open, you take the shot. And at times, we haven't seen those late game adjustments when you have the advantage. You know, Tatum can be an advantage in the post. Porzingis, advantage in the post. Jaylen Brown with the basketball can be an advantage. Dave is in Marlboro. What's going on, Dave? You're on the Sports Hub.
Hello?
Hey, Dave, you're on the air. How you doing, bud?
Good. You kind of hit me exactly where I was thinking. I don't understand this. You're up by 15 points. You go down there, you heave 3 threes in a row going up the court. You just heave them up, you miss them. They come down, hit 3 threes, and it's a 6-point game. When you're up by 15, it's not a bad idea to get a nice, easy basket with a layup or something to go up by 17. It's okay to go up by 17 instead of 18. You know, and it just drives me insane when they got that big lead. Why are they still leaving these 3 points?
Yeah, and I just, I've seen other coaches adjust. Like the philosophy, Dave, works, right? It does. They have 33 wins or whatever it is. But
absolutely.
But in crunch time, does that philosophy even matter anymore?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You definitely have. You were just saying how Tatum can use people in the post, and then you can get Porzingis, of course, who can really take advantage of the post. When I was watching the Celtics with Bird and them, you know what? Bird knew where to go with the ball every time. If McHale had the mismatch, he got it. If Parrish had the mismatch, he got it. You know,
Thanks.
and they were dominant inside.
Thanks, Dave.
Hello.
Remember those days, Ryan? McHale, Bird, Parrish. Do you remember those days?
No, I definitely don't. I don't think I was alive back then.
Man, you had 3 guys, 6'9" and above down there. Parrish, McHale, Bird. That guy kind of sounded like Johnny Most a little bit from Beyond the Grave. He had a little Johnny in him. Shane's in Woburn. Hey, Shane.
Hey, Joe. So I think one thing you might have touched on it a little bit, but the biggest thing from that Joe Mazzulla interview is how he said you never make those in-game decisions like by the seat of your pants. Like, it seems like, just like you're saying, it's completely scripted, and he doesn't make any game time decisions. You want to be prepared, but obviously they can't prepare for anything. You've got to be able to adjust.
You know what's funny, Shane? I understand, like, the Lions side of it. The whole team is in on it. Like, they're all like, everyone like, all right, guys, we're going to go for 2. Yeah! Like, everyone's, like, all pumped about it, you know? When it comes to the Celtics, it's like the buy-in is, hey, we all agree this is the way we're doing it. So you're right, man. Like, he did kind of say, we don't really do this on the seat of our pants. It's a buy-in from everybody. And at the same time, it makes me feel like they're not going to adjust. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree, which is unfortunate. And I don't know. I find it hard to imagine that everyone is on that exact same page.
Yeah. I wonder how Sam Cassell feels about that, right? Or Charles Lee, or I don't know, Jeff Van Gundy, who they brought in all these coaches to protect Joe Mazzulla this year or be the next guy up. And are any of them involved in any of those late game discussions? I don't know. I don't know at this point. I think Mazzulla's really digging his heels in and being stubborn about the philosophy. And hey, guess what? They're the best team in the NBA. It's just late in games. You might need to adjust. Just like, I don't know, you kick a field goal to go up 17. But before the half, Dan Campbell, you did kick the field goal instead of going for it. He was using that approach in the first half. Went away from it with a big lead second half.